Hello, I'm Matrix Ran, and I'd like to welcome you to this tutorial on Galactic Starfighter basics. For this video, I'm going to assume you've already completed the in-game tutorial that covers the very basics of Starfighter, and move on to what the in-game tutorial does not cover. Also, all of the ships I'm using in this video are in their stock configurations, without any upgrades or alternative weapons unlocked. I won't be covering in detail any ships that require unlocking, only the stock options that you get right out of the box. Customizing and upgrading your Starfighter will be a part of a later video. For now, I want to show you how Galactic Starfighter can be fun right from the start. When you queue for a Galactic Starfighter match, you can be placed in one of two different game modes: Team Deathmatch or Domination. Team Deathmatch is just what it says on the tin, a match between two teams to be the first to score 50 kills before the timer runs out. The key to winning Team Deathmatch is to choose your kills wisely and take control of the map. When choosing your kills, in general, you're trying to stay close to the rest of your team. This isn't just because you can support each other, but also because the presence of many teammates close together can act as a deterrent to the enemy. No one really wants to get blatted by 5 enemy ships, now do they? Above all, your goal is not to present yourself as the easiest kill for 5 different enemy ships. Taking control of the map doesn't just involve being aware of where the enemy team is in relation to your own, but also involves picking up the buffs scattered around the map. These buffs confer massive advantages to your ship's power levels, allowing you to outperform the enemy in many situations. Domination is the second possible game type. In domination matches, both teams are fighting for control of 3 satellites on the map. Satellites are controlled by first destroying all of their sentry turrets, and then flying very close to them until control flips to your team. You'll know when you're in range when you see this green aura around your ship. Any enemy ships in capture range will block the capture, preventing you from taking control. Because of these mechanics, it's ideal for most, if not all, of the fighting to take place in close proximity to these satellites. However, before we can fully start to understand the ins and outs of victory and domination mode, we need to first understand more about combat in Galactic Starfighter. First, we'll look at the 4 ship types you can choose from in Galactic Starfighter. Strike fighters are multi-role, multi-purpose ships that are well balanced to suit a wide array of combat options. Their shields, hull, and handling are all above average, and their stock configuration features 2 interchangeable primary weapons, along with concussion missiles that allow you to strike out from long range while still able to keep up pressure once you get close in. Scouts are lightweight, high-speed ships that trade shield and hit points for greater speed and maneuverability. They also boast the strongest sensor suites in the game, not only allowing them to see the enemy long before other ships can, but also allowing them to relay that information over greater ranges to friendly teammates. Their speed and sensors make them ideal to take control of satellites early in a match. They come stock with light lasers best suited to close-range scrapping, and powerful dumbfire rockets that can make short work of heavy targets, provided that they stand still. Gunships are slow floating turrets in space that have a radically different playstyle to anything else in Galactic Starfighter. They are one of 2 ships that must be unlocked with fleet requisition to play with. However, long-term subscribers may find that they already have one unlocked for free. Their primary weapons, while average in power, are not their primary means of attacking. Instead, gunships sport railguns, which stop the ship dead in space so that the pilot can charge up a shot, take aim, and fire on an unsuspecting ship for massive amounts of damage at massive ranges. However, railguns come with many trade-offs, and on the stock Quarrel, these come in the form of limited mobility, limited visibility, and the fact that when you charge up your railgun, you are a very big, glowing target. Because of their potential lethality and their tendency for tunnel vision, gunship pilots are one of the most tempting targets in all of Galactic Starfighter, and oftentimes most of a match will be spent repositioning to avoid incoming attacks from kill-hungry vultures. Bombers can only be unlocked by spending fleet requisition, so these ships won't be available as stock. However, it's important we still cover their role in combat. Bombers are slow. They make even gunships seem fast and agile, but bombers are the mine layers and engineers of the game, useful for fortifying satellites that your team controls, or fortifying enemy satellites that your team would like to control. Their mines and turret drones are the bane of scouts and strike fighters trying to capture points. Their slow speed actually proves to be an advantage once they're close to a satellite, as enemy strike fighters and scouts will often lose track of how close they are getting to the bomber, only to take a freshly launched mine point blank to the face. Now that we've covered the ships, we can start talking about flying around in Galactic Starfighter. Only by knowing what the enemy ships are capable of can we think of how to position ourselves before a fight. Once we know that, we know how to capture satellites. All lasers, cannons, railguns, missiles, and torpedoes in Galactic Starfighter are governed by a weapon cone, which determines how far off center a target can be with respect to the nose of your ship for the weapon to still be able to fire. They are represented on your UI by two circles, a thick circle and a thin one. The thick circle represents your primary weapons, such as lasers. The thin one represents your secondary weapons, such as missiles. These two circles are the cones that a ship's weapons can cover out in front of them. Seen from above, you can see that as the cone expands outwards from your ship, the area that your weapons can cover becomes far greater, and in turn you have to move your ship less to keep the enemy ship in your sights. This means that for an easier shot at your enemy, you would rather be as far away from them as your weapons will allow, and conversely it means that if you want to give your enemy a hard time hitting you, you should get as close as you possibly can to them. Of course, while you can make charging straight at an enemy work, in the stock Starfighter ships, it's often not advisable to do this. Instead, as a pilot, you need to become mindful of the terrain around you and use it to your advantage. Putting as many rocks and ship parts in front of you as possible can help you edge close enough to a poorly positioned gunship to let loose on them with your full arsenal, without giving them time to charge up a shot. Targeting enemy ships is done by pressing either Tab, E, or R. Tab tries to find the next closest enemy to you. E targets the enemy closest to the center of your screen, assuming one is visible, and R targets the last person to attack you. Once you have an enemy targeted, your goal is to keep them within a weapons range that you're comfortable with. This of course is easier when your enemy is cooperative, and not so easy when they're uncooperative. To keep up with an uncooperative target, in general it's best to try to pitch over to follow his track. This is because pitching, moving your craft in the up-down direction, turns your ship faster than yawing, moving your craft in the left-to-right direction. Ideally, we want to roll our ship so the target diamond showing our currently selected target is at the top of the circle, and then pull our ship's nose up to find the target. Sometimes the target will try to run from you by using their afterburner. Keep in mind that while chasing with the afterburner, you're still able to lock on missiles or fire blasters. As long as they can't outpace your ship, they're a sitting duck. Once you have the target in weapons range and line up your crosshair over the target, you'll notice that not every laser blast produces a damage value. This is because laser hits are governed by some crazy pen and paper math going on behind the scenes. Depending on how your ship is set up and how the enemy ship is set up, these numbers will vary. Missile locks are handled by pressing and holding the right mouse button and waiting until you hear the continuous locked-on tone. During this time, you must keep the target inside the reticle or you'll lose progress on the lock. Once you have a lock, release the right mouse button to let the weapon fly. Because of this mechanic, you obviously would like to be as far away from the target as possible, so it's easier to keep him within the reticle. When you're locked by a missile, you have various options. You could try to outmaneuver the enemy ship. Assuming they're close to you, it can be very easy to leave his targeting cone for the fraction of a second needed to break the lock. If that doesn't work, try to find something to put between your ship and their ship to break the line of sight. Still no good? As a last resort, you can activate your engine ability, which on most ships will prevent missile locks for 3 seconds, as well as conferring a bonus to your evasion stat. One last but very important topic to cover are ship power levels. The F1 key will bring your ship to maximum weapons power level, increasing your weapons power pool recharge rate and giving you a small bonus to your damage output. F2 boosts your shield power level, increasing your shield strength and the speed it recharges at. F3 boosts your engine power pool, giving you a slight boost to speed and maneuverability while greatly increasing the rate of your booster recharge. F4 resets your ship to the balanced mode, conferring equal bonuses to all stats. With that, we've covered most of the basics of Galactic Starfighter, except for one: practice. All of the above advice is very nice, but it's of no use if you don't put it to use on a regular basis. In the end, there is no substitute for going out there, flying around, and learning by doing. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and as always, have fun and fly safe.